It is Wednesday night again. This is Wednesday night mouse party. I am DM Foss, and tonight we've got G23. How's it going, G23?
It's going. Thanks for the invite.
And Gizzard Gary. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Thanks for the invite, man.
And hang on here. There it is.
And now, making his way to the ring, weighing in at 245 pounds, standing an astonishing 5 feet 10 inches tall, the reigning U.S. middleweight late night firearms champion, Guns and Barbecue.
Woo! I'm too wired than more potatoes.
I think that weight is a little off because that's an old intro that I did. But Guns and Barbecue, how are you doing?
Didn't realize I was muted still. Doing all right. Got a fairly good headache rocking right now. But no, hearing that kind of made me go, oh yeah, I'm still losing weight. That's good. I mean, not at what I was back in April for that wrestling tournament, because once I wrestled that, I started eating like a trash panda, but slowly getting back to the diet and starting to shed some pounds again. So working back towards, goals.
That's good. And G-Webs, how you doing?
Right in Midland, as requested, I came in with a channel that has a G in front of it that begins with the letter G.
Yep, I like uniformity. Let's see who was out there in the chat. DJ was out there earlier. G23, 2 live Moo. And Moo, if you're still out there, I know I forgot to show the picture you sent in, and I'll show it tonight. Gun websites. And pinned at the top of the chat is this week's poll. So if you haven't voted in the poll, you can go over there and vote. Ozzy Osbourne, Gizzard Gary, M. Gabriel, and Mike McClune. Ozzy said his NAA mini revolver arrived at the local gun store, filled out his paperwork, and he's got a 3-day wait. He'll pick it up Saturday. Congratulations.
He can be one of the cool kids.
I don't have one. I'm not one of the cool kids.
Well, I have one thanks to G Webs. He gave me the idea.
So let me get this. There we go. This week's poll is it the journey or the destination? And 81% said it's the journey. 19% said it's the destination. We'll take a quick look at the comments. Vanessa Kitty said the adventure when it's all said and done. Misha said that's hard to say as both play almost the same importance. Sometimes it's about where you've been and others about where you're going. DJ said that destination has a touch of finality. I'd rather keep the party going and enjoy the journey. New York Outcast said it's 50-50 sometimes. Hard to pick. And DJ also said it's the journey, the best junior high slow dance band ever. Ball hugger and flower-haired fashion. Pretty hilarious in retrospect. Does anybody remember any of the band members' names aside from Neil and Steve Perry? Salute to the slow dance ladies. 80s rocked. So now I come to you with open arms.
I changed my vote from journey to destination because you can get into the quagmire of never reaching your destination if you just appreciate the journey only. And you can make another destination. I think I answered it, DJ.
I'd say in my younger days, it was more about the journey. Now that I'm a little older, I think it's more about the destination. And this can be taken different ways, whether it's a literal trip or metaphorical trip. But in your younger days, I don't know if I think I've told the story in back chats and stuff, but like going to Reno, drove down to Reno a couple times from Eastern Washington, and it was a 12-hour drive. One of the times we ran out of gas, and we're out in the middle of nowhere. So we just, it's three of us and we're all kind of young, fit. So we just started pushing the car in the direction that we were going anyways. And eventually somebody drove by and sold us a gallon of gas and we were able to get to the gas station. But, that was a fun story. It was part of the journey. That was more fun than the gambling in Reno, the trip down there. I would say if that kind of happened now that I'm older, that would not be as fun. Had a couple other people out there. The bearded guy.
I'm more of the journey, because if you for like physical trips, because it seems like if you're like, okay, well, I have to get to this point, sometimes you miss seeing like all the cool stuff because you're in such a hurry to get to your destination that you don't see what's going on around you during the trip.
Yeah, that could be kind of now. I'll be in a hurry to get there, but coming back, I'm okay with taking a little more time. And that's whether we're going on vacation or I have an appointment where I'm always early. But once I get there and I know that I'll be there on time, and so usually coming home, it doesn't matter as much.
I think a lot depends on the trip, though, because when I went to Indianapolis for NRAM, I'd never been to Indianapolis before, and the weekend was a great time. Couldn't beat it. But the drive from here through Missouri and Illinois, that was a long 8-hour drive and not very memorable. So to me, it was the destination for that one anyway.
And also wanted to say hello to Shangy Girl, who was out there. Yeah, when I was looking at maybe driving to Thunder on the Prairie, I didn't want to, but that if Barron was able to go, he was going to drive, so I was going to drive with him. That way, he wouldn't be driving alone, and then it would be fun, hanging out with him driving.
Yeah, and that might have been a pretty drive. It's like when Snob and I went to Vegas those 2 times. It was a real long trip, but there were a lot of beautiful things to see along the way. So in that case, the journey was just about as much fun as the destination. But, it depends on where you're going, I think.
And I had thought about, I ended up flying out, and I had thought about driving, because then I would have brought a couple guns with me. But if I hammered through, it's 24 hours minimum. And I think I figured out I was looking at maybe 10 stops for gas. I can't remember if that was total for there and back, like 5 stops there and 5 stops back. Might have been 10 just there. I don't remember exactly. When I had planned it out. And that if the smarter thing would have been to stop somewhere halfway-ish, but then then you're looking at more time, and I didn't really want to do that. So I just took the 3-hour flight, 3.5-hour flight. But yeah, and driving, I drove up today to get my wife from the airport, and I really don't enjoy that. It's about an hour drive, so it's not too bad. But you go through Tacoma, which has god awful bad traffic, and Seattle is, depending on where you're at in Seattle, traffic can be horrible too. I've always wanted to, try and look into the psychology of drivers. Just the stupid stuff you see on the road. Something as simple as when you're on an on-ramp, the reason that on-ramp is there is so you can get up to speed, highway speed, to merge into traffic. And it's amazing how many people will hit, if the speed limit's like 60, they'll hit it at merge in at 50 and then speed up to highway speed, or you take an off ramp, they slow down on the highway. The off ramp is there to slow down. You don't have to slow down for the off ramp. You use the off ramp to slow down.
I always love the left lane campers.
Yeah, that I only use the left lane, the farthest left lane for passing, and then I get out of that lane. The one thing today that happened was I was in the HOV lane, which is to the left of the passing lane. And a lot of people don't seem to understand that is not the passing lane. That's the HOV lane. The passing lane is the farthest left that isn't the HOV lane. So, I'm doing like 5 over, 7 over, somewhere in there. And then have somebody that'll tailgate me for a mile and then go, past me and then take off. Well, why didn't you just pass me a mile ago? And you would have been on your way. Then, I know. Yeah, I knew there was something I was going to ask you, Barbecue. I had
I think we lost Barbecue.
Yeah, he dropped out.
Oh,
I
no.
wasn't even looking. Well, if he comes back, I'll ask him. Because I had a truck that I was over in the slower lanes, and the farthest right lane, I had a truck pass me, but that lane was ending. So he got about halfway past me when that lane started to end. And I didn't realize, I was just driving, wasn't paying attention, then realized he's starting to merge over into me. And luckily I, noticed it before it got too serious.
Yeah, I've had that happen before where I go around a semi in the left-hand lane, and then they decide that they're going to pass the vehicle in front of them, and they don't pay any attention. And I got ran clear off on the shoulder once because of that. Good thing I was looking.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to get hit by the semi. I figured the shoulder would be a lot more fun to deal with. So it was.
Yeah, the worst are the jerks from Oregon, because I live close to I-5, so most of my driving is on I-5, and that's the corridor goes all the way down to Oregon, all the way up to the Canadian border through Washington. And there are a lot of awful Oregon drivers.
There's a lot of horrible Washington and California drivers here in Oregon, along with Oregon drivers. My favorite one I've seen is the Oregon drivers that will be in the left lane, and then, oh yeah, I got to make a right, so I'm going to cut across all the lanes of traffic just to make that right turn.
Yeah, there's a lot of Oregon drivers that come through that will pass on the right. You know, it's a 4-lane highway, but they won't pass in the passing lane. They'll go in the slow lane to weave through traffic. And then it's either they're 15 miles an hour under the speed limit or 15 over.
Or you'll go to, like I do, go to pass a semi, and you're trying to get enough distance between you and the semi where it's safe to cut over, you know, where you're not just cutting right in front of them. But the guy behind you who's been tailgating you the entire time has lost patience because you're not going fast enough for him. So before you can even get over, he's went ahead and took the right-hand lane so he can go around you. Yeah.
Yeah. That, or, you know, you're like you're in the passing lane, but you're in traffic and then somebody's tailgating you. It's like, well, I can't speed up. I can't go anywhere. If they're real obnoxious about it, then I'll pull slightly over into the inside shoulder. So you start kicking up rocks. Or if it's raining, that'll, you know, you'll kick up more spray to get them back off a little bit.
It's evil.
But I used to be a more aggressive driver. And then after my son was born, you know, it's like, well, I kind of need to calm down. And because, you know, I've got my kid with me, so I just relax. I'll get there eventually. You know, I don't have to. Saving that 3 minutes isn't going to do me a lot of good. Yeah. So I don't really drive. You know, my wife disagrees, but I don't drive aggressively. You know, I don't hog the fast lane. If somebody's road raging, I just let them go. I'm not going to get involved in it. If I see other people road raging, I'll either slow down to get away from them or speed up to get away from them. But I'm not going to. Don't want to end up in the middle of it.
We don't really have that too much of that stuff down here.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's only the one highway, and it's only for, you know, cutting across town. Like, people are going across the country on it, I guess. But you know, we don't have the kind of infrastructure that, you know, it's all just surface streets here.
Oh.
So there's nowhere for somebody to get a speed anyway. You know, are you going to speed to the next traffic light?
Yeah, it's the kind of worst ones are I-5 and then 405, and that's when you're getting up around Seattle. And yeah, there's one more in there, but it's around Seattle, and it's
I don't know. I-90 is pretty horrible.
nah, I-90 isn't bad, really. Getting to I-90 can be a pain, but once you're on 90, it's usually, I've never really had a problem.
I don't know. 90 around North Bend and Cle Elum, those two areas, they can get pretty nasty, you know.
Ozzy was asking, has anyone noticed that you drive more cautiously when carrying a gun?
I don't. I do 100 no matter what.
That is, you know, that's probably part of it too, is I really look to avoid any problems when I have my gun. So I'm not yelling at people. I will now and again. Yes, I will flip somebody off, but try not to do that. Just to avoid it becoming a larger problem. Somebody wants to be an asshole. Well, fine, they can be an asshole. And if I just don't engage, usually they go on their way.
So what you're saying is you don't have a problem giving them the bird?
No, usually it'll just be, I'll act like I didn't really notice them, and then I'll just put my hand on my, like that as they drive by. So, but I'm not rolling my window down and screaming at anybody. Because, it doesn't make you feel any better. So why engage in it?
What if you drove around in a vehicle that demands such respect on the road that no one even tries to mess with you? You should try driving around a van.
Well, I'll say it doesn't matter what I'm driving, and it doesn't matter what the other person is driving. Like when they're tailgating or trying to push you a little bit, I don't care. I'm not going to be intimidated. I try not to be in that situation, but like I said, sometimes you can't help it. Like you're getting over to pass and then somebody flies up. I'll try and even time it. So if I see somebody coming up fast, then I'll just wait, let them go by, and then get over to pass. I have had, in my younger days when I would buy really cheap cars that were not in great shape, people would give you a little wider berth when you're driving.
Yeah. Because they can tell right away that you don't got insurance and they don't want to get hit by your car.
Yeah, and they don't park by you in the parking lot.
When I had my 69 Dodge A100 custom pickup, a lot of people decided that they didn't want to be too near that because in an accident, I'm going to win every time.
Ozzy said he tends to watch his speed. Don't really want the Barney Fife experience. I'm not a big speeder. I'll go 5 over, maybe 10, depending on, how the traffic is going. But I prefer to stick at about 5 over.
I just drive with traffic or else the speed limit. I'm knowing I can get there when I get there. You don't get there any faster going faster.
Yeah, you can end up being, you want to go fast and nobody else is going fast, so you get irritated or you get upset, and
I put it on cruise control and just whatever the speed limit is, that's what the cruise control's at. Get over in the right lane. I mean, it's easy in a van because nobody expects you to be going fast either, but and they don't really care. They just move around you most of the time. But I just don't like getting tickets. I don't want anywhere near a ticket. I don't want to waste money like that.
Yeah, I think my last ticket was probably maybe 20 years ago, and I was doing 10 over, but it was raining, and the officer said that's why he pulled me over. I kept. He came up. I saw him come up behind me, and I got over to the right to let him pass, and he pulled in behind me. Got up to more traffic, got over past that traffic, got over to the right, and he just kept following me, but I couldn't see it was a cop, state patrol. And he pulled me over, and I was speeding. I don't fight the tickets or anything. I was speeding, so I paid the ticket.
Yeah, but if he followed you for more than 5 miles, or wait, in Washington it's 2 miles or 5 city blocks. If a law enforcement officer follows you, then it's considered entrapment, and they can't write you a ticket for it.
I don't know about that, but I couldn't even tell you because that was back when I lived farther away. So it was, I had to get home by a certain time because my wife had to leave. Basically, I would walk in the door as she was walking out the door to go to work. So I had to be home. So I would speed more. And I couldn't tell you. I don't remember how long he followed me. I was tired. I couldn't even tell if it was a deputy or state patrol. When I had my 68 satellite, and I was driving cross state a lot, I would just drive the speed limit, but it was the way that car was, it was comfortable. It was like sitting on your couch. So you just cruise along. And plus I only got, I think that got about 12 miles to the gallon. Was better than the truck. My Power Wagon got 7. And that thing, had kind of big mud tires on it. So by the time I would get from Eastern Washington to Western Washington, the vibration, you stop the truck and get out and your body is vibrating because you sat in that for so long. And then you can't really hear anything because it was so loud inside the cab.
Is that because of like the knobby tires on it, or because of something
Yeah.
else? Yeah. I've been in trucks like that. I don't mind that.
Yeah, that's why I bought it from a guy that I worked with when I worked at the shipyard. It was a fun truck. Had a 318 with 360 heads on it. He used to haul he had a camper when he used it for camping. Then he bought another one. So I bought that from him. And did pretty good 4-wheel drive. Was kind of rusty and it was primer red. When I bought it, he's like, yeah, just every spring, just put another coat of primer on it and you're good to go. I sold it to a guy I worked with who never turned in his part of the sales report. And I got a parking ticket because of that, because he parked it somewhere and got a parking ticket. But since he didn't do his, I turned in my part, but the state hadn't updated it. So they actually didn't send me the ticket. They sent the ticket to my mom in Western Washington. And she paid it. And I'm like, well, I don't even own the truck. She's like, well, I didn't know.
If I start parking erratically, will your mom pay my ticket?
Well, she's dead, so no. Yeah, when I sold it to him, I let him take it out for test drive. We worked graveyard at a grocery store. And then when we got back, we went out on lunch break. Let him drive it around, got back. And then I said, well, here, let me drive it. When we got back to the parking lot, and then I did donuts, and then he bought it from me. And it was just high enough so if there was a car, the exhaust ported out on the right side. If somebody was being annoying on the right side, if I floored it, then it just blows out their ears because it's almost, it's just below your ear level. Yeah, I used that. Friend was, his parents had 5 acres and he was supposed to mow the property, and he didn't want to mow the property, so I took him out in the truck and we just did donuts and knocked all the grass down. Then I hit a tree.
We had a friend with like mud tires, I guess you'd call them, like big. They're not a lot of traction, but just giant, oversized tires and then real high suspension. And then a couple of times he would take it out to imagine like a river or a creek without any water in it, like the dry washes. You can
Yeah.
drive those around here some places, and just driving around in those. And every once in a while, it's kind of like a dune. You know, it's kind of like some sand, but like you're saying, like sand with a big tree trunk in the middle of it, or like sand that craps out to a bunch of rocks or something. So, you know, it's not like New Mexico where there's dunes and stuff where you can just drive around in sand like beaches and stuff. But there are some sandy places at the bottom of these creeks where, when it's not rainy, you would tool around, and that could be pretty fun. Scary as shit though when you're going really fast, and if you're wrecked, you're hitting trees and rocks and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I hit a power truck in that too. It was where I used to, growing up where I lived, it's all hills. Everywhere you go, it's a hill. And they are like mile-long hills. And it was snowing, and I turned right, and you're immediately going up a hill. I got almost to the top and then started sliding backwards. And so I got it to where I thought I was going to be able to turn all the way around to head back down the hill, but I only got about halfway and then started sliding towards the ditch. But there was a power truck that was in the ditch, and I bounced off that, which straightened me out. And I got a little farther down the hill where I got control, and there's a guy walking, and he goes, "Yeah, that truck's been in there since last night, and everybody's been hitting it." It's like, "Oh, all right." So I went home, and but I can say I kind of missed that truck, but it was fun, but probably not my most favorite car that I've owned. But I've owned a lot of kind of cheap, back when you can buy cars for like $600 that were reliable.
I've owned a lot of trucks. I like trucks, but ever since I got a van, I'm super happy with the van. Being able to go into the back and have stuff in the back secure and whatever. It's essentially a truck just with a back on it, that you can walk around in. But I've liked trucks. I would like, if I had the money, I would have also a truck. Like have a truck that just a cheap truck to use for stuff.
Yeah, they are invaluable when you need a truck. You need a truck, but then most of the time you don't need a truck. Because
I definitely don't ever. But if I did, I'd want one that's like cheaper than a U-Haul. I want to be able to trash and dirt and stuff.
I thought about getting one. I was thinking about like the Toyota, with 4 doors so you could carry the kids. But with the SUV, it's just nicer to have more inside space to carry stuff. And I just don't need a truck enough to get one. Like I've said, I think I've said it a bunch of times, like when I had my Ranger, I think it was a 99 Ranger. I love that little truck. It was a great little pickup truck. I still miss it.
Yeah, if I could get like a Brat or something, I would totally get one. Find the money.
Mike McClue said, I started watching my driving more after I got my CDL license. Too many chances to lose my privileges with the tighter restrictions.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, and then from talking with the delivery drivers and stuff at work, basically everything's doubled. All the fines are doubled. They get in a lot more trouble than they would if it's just in their personal vehicle.
Well, the thing is even if you're in your personal vehicle and you get a ticket because you have a CDL, they're gonna, it's gonna count against your CDL, and those fines can still be larger than if you didn't have that CDL.
And Mike said he can't live without his pickup truck.
I have a question about the logistics of tonight's bracket.
We've had to postpone the bracket. There was an accusation of fraud. So until that's settled, we can't do the bracket.
I'm adding an accusation of insider trading.
I noticed that as soon as Nancy Pelosi announced her retirement, she invested heavily in overnight bracket.
Yeah, she's got the inside line. So there's lots of politicians that become millionaires after they become politicians. So after they're elected. Oh, let me show. Because I'm gonna forget. Well, I need it's in the tab. There we go. Sunday, Moo had sent in this picture because we were talking about 1911s. So this is his Bull Armory Commander. Oop. It's either that big or that big. So if we go that big, you can see. I can see it on my screen because it's a little larger than this, but there's a pet hair up here. There's a pet hair over here. There's one down here. Oh, you can just see it there. Right there. There's a bunch on his keyboard. But pretty nice. Yeah, I was looking at 45s yesterday. And I thought, I was looking at Grab a Gun. And I thought, well, I'll just put one on layaway. Picked out one. Started going through the checkout and found out Grab a Gun will not ship to Washington because of the new laws. They don't really have the 1911 wouldn't be a problem, but they've just decided they don't want to deal with Washington. So
Is that just Grab a Gun or all the websites doing that?
well, so far Grab a Gun. I was looking at God, what's the other one?
Gun Broker is one I've used before.
We could ask Baron. He's probably tried all the different stores, trying to buy guns.
Well, and I can't think of the name of it. I always forget the name of it, and I think Dick's, but it's not Dick's.
Bob's.
It's one of the other kind of big ones that everybody uses.
Richards.
But I don't know. So it didn't look like it would be a problem with them because they let me pick out an FFL to ship to. Yeah, Eric M509, he's saying, yeah, we're screwed because a lot of places won't ship here anymore, even for legal stuff. We can't even buy parts if the gun breaks. Yeah, it's like Arrow, who's in Washington, won't ship anything within state because of the new law.
I thought
there. What was that?
I was thinking Arrow was going to have to vacate Washington, just like Rainier Arms, because of the way it was worded. So, with them not being able to export out of the state of Washington either, that would probably be. But maybe they just haven't started enforcing that yet.
I don't know. Friday, there's supposed to be one of the lawsuits. The one in Thurston County is supposed to be heard. And then maybe July, one of the other ones is supposed to be heard. So I don't think much will come out. I don't really think there'll be a stay in the Thurston County one just because it's in Thurston County. You never know if the judges, actually follow what the Supreme Court said.
On that case, I don't understand why it got moved from Grant County to Thurston County, because the business resides in Grant County, and I know they say that they couldn't prove damages, but you would think that shop should be able to prove damages when they can't return the firearms that they had, they can't sell the firearms that they have, so they're sitting on all this inventory that they can't do anything with it.
Yeah, I agree with you, but that's the judge said that since nobody was injured, that it would be moved to Thurston County because they are suing the governor and the attorney general, and that's where they are. So the case had to be moved there.
I think that the judge just didn't want to deal with it, and shipping it over to Thurston County, the attorney general was going to get a better, more favorable judge over there.
I kind of think so too, but it's just gonna. I think it'll probably have to hit the 9th, and then we'll see what they do. And then the best outcome is for it to go to the Supreme Court, so that it's not, because with the 9th, it only will be a ruling for the states covered by the 9th. Where if the Supreme Court rules, then it's everybody, but that means waiting even longer.
So I think us over here in the 9th have a better chance with either Benitez making his ruling out of California, or since Oregon's ballot measure 114 just went in front of the federal judge, we're just waiting on her ruling. Since that's already been heard, and it has the 10-round magazine, it has the pistol purchasing permit, and other things that will affect the Washington along with Oregon. That one will end up in the 9th, probably faster than any of the cases out of Washington, because you guys haven't even gone to trial yet.
Yeah, it sucks, but that's where we are. Right. What else is going on? What else do you guys want to talk about?
I don't know.
Oh, you didn't bring a topic?
We can talk about the price of tea in China.
Or we couldn't. We can skip that one.
We could talk about roller dogs. We were talking about roller dogs last night.
I, yeah, on Guns and Barbecues chat, he was doing a scenario at a convenience store, and I missed part of it, so I'm not sure what all the setup was. Do you remember, Gary?
Trying to think.
Something
400
about a winter
400-pound guy in a parka, with a firearm that you could see, like in his hand, but he wasn't pointing it at the cashier.
He's asking for the money out of the register.
Ah. So, yeah, that's a toughie. Did anybody say they would interject, or other than stealing the roller dogs?
I said that I would try to get the people out of the store, and if necessary, then I'd pull a firearm. Izzard said he's stealing all the roller dogs and eating them.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, that's better than what was Defense Dad talking about one of the other scenarios, throwing poop.
Yeah, that's just. There's some logistics involved in that one.
Probably. It could be a timing issue with that one, if you're.
Yeah.
Well, you never know, because in that situation, you could be scared crapless, and then you'd have a lot of extra in your pants.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I want to get into bowel movements in self-defense. What if you went before you went to the store? Then what do you do? Ozzy Osbourne said Illinois still has about half a dozen lawsuits in play yet. It's easy if you're in one of the states, like Washington, California, all the ones that kind of went crazy with their laws. It's easy to get down, but there's, if you think about it, there's more than half the states are now either constitutional carry or permitless carry. So there's a lot of positives. They get overshadowed by the negative because there's a lot of negatives that are getting pushed. But if you look at the totality, which, again, when you're in one of the bad states, with the bad laws, it's hard to look at the positives. The Second Amendment as a whole is doing better.
Ooh, I have something we can talk about. The positive of national reciprocity passing the Congress, and it's now headed to Senate. And I mean, we could possibly, pull a narrow win there. Likelihood of we getting it past the president is a whole different ballgame. But you never know. His senile personality may let it go by.
I don't think I can't imagine him signing it, but it's still a positive if it gets that far because that hasn't happened before.
Well, and it also does not allow them to stay with well, we haven't heard anything anti, so against our position, so we assume our position is shared by others. Now they can, they have to acknowledge that there was a complete initiative in opposition to that.
Um, the yeah, it's frustrating to have to wait. Eric said I lived in California from '69 to 2007, so including '94 crime bill, I've lived under bad gun control. And it only took a decade for Washington to go full crazy on guns. It was a pretty fast turnaround because Washington had fairly good gun laws. It wasn't, we didn't have constitutional carry or anything like that. But all in all, it was, fairly good gun laws. And, we still do have open carry without a permit, which is nice. And we have always been a must issue state. So you just, apply, and as long as you can legally own a gun, you got a concealed carry. And it's just kind of once the Second Amendment got the good push, and then all the anti-gunners started pushing back. That's when you started seeing, and if you look at what was passed or what's being proposed to be passed in the strict states, they are pretty much identical. So it's a kind of a boilerplate anti-gun agenda being, passed between the anti-gun strongholds.
I blame Gary Locke. That's who I blame for Washington's anti-gun laws.
Why?
When he decided that he was going to run for president, he left office, which put King Inslee in place, and that's when they started rolling really downhill south, like super quick.
Well, Locke went to work for Clinton. He was given I forget what administration he went to work for.
I think it was Obama.
Obama? Was it Obama? So he didn't really run for president. He got he changed jobs. Oh, Inslee tried to run for president, and that was a complete and utter failure. The debate that he was on, nobody knew who he was. Nobody cared who he was. But he has a very large ego. So, and I don't, it's nice to see a change because he's not going to run next election. But, is whoever replaces him.
Ferguson's already thrown his hat in the ring.
Yeah,
saying he's going to run.
I think he will be a strong contender just because he's a name that everybody knows. And he's the one that pushing. He's crafted some of these anti-gun laws. So he will not be he's going to be as bad, if not worse. in my opinion. There are people who differ from my opinion and think he will be good, but
You're talking about Washington now, right?
yeah,
So
everybody would
you
watch.
don't ever really talk about, is there other stuff happening, or is it their agenda is only anti-gun, or is it anti-gun and there's a whole bunch of other stuff happening? I know Portland was an issue for a minute, or not Portland, the Seattle stuff. But is there other stuff that this is what we're focusing on, or is this the focus of the whole state?
I don't know, because usually it was always just taxes. They're pushing new taxes. There was some other kind of I consider bad, like and I don't want to get into the transgender thing, but the way the law is written, that basically they can hide somebody's kid from you and help them transition if you don't want your kid to transition. For we're talking minors, and I have a problem with that, mostly on the hiding your kids from you part. And I don't know. Trying to think of anything else like that was passed. There was, like, when I went up for the gun laws, went up to the Capitol to listen to that. There was some other ones that I hadn't heard about, but they affected the gun laws, and like sentencing enhancements. And we did go through this on an overnight chat a little bit ago. And I don't remember what all it was, but it was stuff that I had never heard of, but turned out that, there was a couple more gun related things that had come up. And I do not believe in sentence enhancing. If you commit a crime, you committed a crime. If you did it with a gun or you did it with a knife, I don't really see a difference. If you stabbed somebody to death or you shot them to death, or, maybe they didn't die, you assaulted somebody with a deadly weapon. There's no real difference to me. If it was a knife, a club.
Or if you jaywalked, or if you, walked too close to something, or if you sped too fast and you had a gun on, like, I think that's a difference too.
Yeah.
That's not a gun crime. It's just a crime. And then you had a gun with you.
And, because if they committed a crime and they are criminals, then by default, they don't care about the law. So it's not going to stop anybody from doing anything. That's what I had a conversation with a friend just recently, and he was kind of saying that, there's people that he works with that he doesn't think should carry a gun. Whether it was they're not responsible or they're just not very smart. So he was kind of hinting around at stricter gun laws, and I told him, hey, there is no gun law that will stop somebody from carrying a gun or doing something bad.
Right, just like the drug laws didn't stop anybody from doing drugs this morning or yesterday or tomorrow.
And he said, yeah, he understands that, and he is a smart person. He's a well-educated person. But I don't know if it was just a kind of a late night, we were talking before we went to bed, conversation. And I don't know if I changed his mind, but hopefully I at least brought up a point that he didn't seem to have thought of. So maybe it'll help change his mind in the future. Yeah, and Eric said, I don't, kind of speaking of Washington, I think I don't expect them to stop with what they got this year. I don't either. Kind of the stuff that happened this year, I expected. It's all stuff they've been pushing, for years that didn't go anywhere. But year before last, it seemed to start. It was catching traction, so I was a little concerned. And they got a bunch of it passed. Some of it didn't, and I think they'll just try. They'll try again next year for the stuff they didn't get, like the preemption. They tried to get rid of preemption. That's a big problem because that would mean that any county, city could basically create their own gun laws. Right now, the state has preemption, so basically state law is the law. A county can't say, well, we don't want you to carry handguns because the state law has preemption over it.
Yeah, King County found that out when they tried to add taxes, and then all of a sudden it was challenged, and they lost.
Yeah, that's it's kind of amusing, but where there has been where a city will try and do something, but then the state steps in and basically protects the rights of the citizens, even though that the leaders of the state don't like you to have rights as a citizen, gun rights. So we'll see what happens the next session. Or if they try and push everything through, or just whatever is most important to them, or what comes out of the Supreme Court. Because that should have an effect on what the state can do or not do. Well, hopefully, because I could still just do it anyways. Say it's the will of the people. Well, that's not a way the Constitution works. Is if you take that logic that the will of the people can overturn a constitution without a constitutional amendment, just some region voting that they don't want to follow the Constitution, and it's hyperbolic but true that you could bring back slavery. If Illinois decides, well, we're going to have slavery, the people voted 60% to 40%, we got slavery. The logic, it's like I said, it's hyperbolic, but that's the same rationale where we don't like your gun laws, so, or we want stricter gun laws, even though that the Supreme Court, the Constitution says that you can't do that. Well, we're just gonna fudge the numbers and do it anyways. This kind of turned more into an overnight a mouse party. This is supposed to be the not quite as serious chat.
So I know you keep popping up Eric's comments, and so I got a question for him. Is that the area code that he lives in, or is the 509 just random numbers?
Are you trying to dox him?
No. It was just kind of interesting.
Oh. So, I don't know, Gary, are you still there? Are you still awake?
No, I fell asleep a few minutes
Ah.
ago. Yes, I'm here.
Entertain us.
Huh. I'm not even that entertaining on my own show. And I don't have my entourage with me like I do on Friday nights. I don't have people who blow in their dog's ear and have their dog bite their nose off. That's the kind of people you need to get on your panel. If you could get people that'll do a little slapstick for you every once in a while. But entertainment, I don't know, man. I know Roll Call didn't do a show tonight. So I guess he'll extend another week.
He said he might do one Friday if he can.
Yeah, he's going to quirk me, evidently.
Yeah. There's so many people doing chats now that somebody's
I
going to
know.
quirk somebody, and that's just can't be helped.
Oh, absolutely. There's no night you could have a live stream somebody else isn't doing one too. So I don't worry too much about it.
Unless you do it in the middle of the night and nobody wants to be awake, then.
Oh yeah, like you. Yeah, you pretty much have it to yourself at 12:30 in the morning. But
Well, that was part of the reason that I did a late night chat. I'm up at this time anyways because of my work schedule. And then the first one I did it in the middle of the night because I was just, I just wanted to learn how it was to run a chat. I've watched chats, I've been on chats, and you get a little different experience. So I wanted to see what it was like to actually run one. So I got Baron to do a chat with me, and I did it in the middle of the night where nobody would be awake. Nobody would watch the shit show happen. And then I got hooked.
it happens.
It does. It's addictive because it's fun. Talking with people that are on the panel, talking with the people that are out in the live chat.
If you enjoy doing it. Now, there's some people, like some friends of mine that used to do live streams, and they really didn't want to do it after the first year or so. But I've always enjoyed doing it. I kind of look forward to those 2 hours on Friday because I don't know why. It's just, well, you get it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like having everybody over to your house,
Between that and like having a bar. It's like if you own a bar and you only have to run it the days you feel like having it open. Because then you get like the regulars that show up.
Yeah. And there's days where, like for the overnight, I can't think of a topic, and so I don't know what to do, or I'm tired, so I don't know if I want to do a chat. But then once I get going, once I get talking, then it kind of wakes me up, and then I get into it. I never, when I started my YouTube channel just so I can do a comment on somebody's video, and never would have expected one to do videos on anything or to do a chat.
I didn't either. I joined this place called Gun Channels, and all of a sudden this guy by the name of Gun Websites started getting on videos and telling people to pick up their cameras and start doing their own stuff. And before you knew it, I was a content creator. It's like I was just a content consumer. That's the reason I came to YouTube. So I wanted to learn about guns and stuff. I didn't think anybody could ever learn anything or anything from me.
That's
amazing how things change in the space of 8 years.
that was a big reason that I started doing videos too. Is GeoWeb saying, basically do something, go out and do something, participate. So I thought, well, I don't know, I'll just start making videos, and then people watch them or get something out of them. Great. If not, then
Well, I think a lot of people out there, when they're watching YouTube videos, especially about guns or something like that, they want to watch somebody like them and get their opinion on a gun. Maybe not an expert, because, they don't care about what the experts think. What does the average Joe think? Well, this guy's kind of like me. Let's see what he thinks of it. So I think in that respect, everybody's opinion is valid because somebody out there is going to connect with it. Maybe not a lot. You may not get 10 million views, but that's not everything. I mean, sure, it's important to grow your channel as a creator, but when you develop relationships with people and you provide valuable information to them, then you're part of the process. That's kind of the way I look at it.
And I definitely run my channel in a way that it's not set up to grow very quickly, but that I did that kind of for a reason, to kind of stave off fatigue, because you'll see a lot of channels that come in and they hit it hard and they're doing good, and then they get burned out and disappear.
Or they get discouraged because it gets difficult. You'll go through times where you won't get subscribers, or YouTube enforces this or that, and you have setbacks. And yeah, a lot of people just become disillusioned with the whole thing and don't want to do it anymore. So you kind of got to stick with it during those times, because you're going to have good times, you're going to have bad times, especially when you run a 2A or a firearms related channel.
Yeah. So I just kind of do it in a way that's fun for me and hopefully fun for other people. And it's, I don't, the what's called evergreen content, I don't do a lot. But, if I get something new, whether it's a gun or piece of equipment, I'll do a video on it. Just say,
it's go to Nebraska and shoot guns you'd never ever shot before.
that was fun, and I think I'm going to go next year. I think that'll be the one thing next year, is to go again. And so I'm kind of looking forward to that, and I'll probably bring, if I do go, I will bring my Super Blackhawk, the 44 Magnum with the 7.5-inch barrel. And I think also my Bond Arms Derringer 357. So
That's
I'll get that.
Shoot that at the target rather than that little 22.
It works a little better. But, so that'll be an experience of, flying with a gun.
So now that you're like an hour and 15 minutes into this, should I remind you that you haven't been running your banner the whole show?
Oh, crap.
We can start over.
Yep.
Page 1 of the script.
Everybody remember what they said?
All right. So there at the bottom of the screen is a banner with the email address and a link. You can send in suggestions, comments, pictures within reason. And in the description for this chat, there's a link for the Gilded server. It's a place to hang out, chit chat with other people, share pictures, memes. You can get a hold of me, or you can get a hold of any of these other guys through Gilded. And if you watch this in replay, leave a comment. I always read the comments, and they're always appreciated. Agree with something we said, disagree, or think we left something out, let me know. What were I talking about?
Iron Rhodes is out in the crowd.
He is out there. Good evening. It's still evening here. I guess for Gary, it's morning now.
It is almost 2 a.m.
I was gonna say, I think 3 out of the 4 people it's still considered evening or late night.
Still today, not tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I hear at work when I'm talking to somebody that comes in the morning. And I'll have to ask them, do you mean, if they say today, do you mean today or yesterday today? Because I started today yesterday. You started your today. So,
Yeah, but you could always really confuse them and say, "Do you mean tomorrow today?"
well, I will say that sometimes if they talk about tomorrow, are you talking today tomorrow or tomorrow tomorrow?
The day after tomorrow, we have a overnight, or I mean an overnight.
No, this is an off weekend.
Oh no.
I have to kind of spread them out just because I can't think of that many topics. And I'm kind of at the point where we've done it long enough where we could almost redo some of the topics that we did kind of near the start, because there's maybe people that are hanging around now that weren't around for then. But do I go over that stuff again?
Well, I'm already at the point where I'm repeating topics. I mean, when you've done 222 shows, it's impossible not to repeat topics.
Yeah, I think for the overnight, it's actually I can close that. I think it's somewhere in the 60s, but that's every other night, so that's 2 years. Content live. Come on, there we go. Yeah, so we've done 67 of the overnights. Yeah, that's for me. That's crazy because that doesn't seem like I've been doing it for 2 years.
That's almost 3 years. 78 would be 3 years if you're doing it every other, because there's 52 weeks in a year, so that's 26 a year.
Well, there have been some weeks that I missed. Just kind of going back and seeing when the first one was. And when we started, I was only doing the one chat, so it was just kind of whatever. So the very first chat we did January 31st, 2021.
It's a while back.
That was. And that did all. Probably would never have even done that if Baron hadn't agreed to do a chat with me. So I owe him a lot.
And that's who we blame. That's who's liable, you could say.
Yeah, he gets half the blame.
I blame DM Foss for as long as my show's been going.
No, that's all you. I don't even talk for most of your chats. I'm just kind of there. I haven't even been there for the last few weeks.
You've been on my show once, I think, ever.
Yep, I'm gonna try and make it this Friday, but then next week I go back to work, so I won't be able to be on anymore.
Yeah, got a birthday party coming up on Friday.
Oh, George's birthday. That's right.
That's right.
How old is he? 15, 16?
He will be 9.
Oh,
Just 9.
oh. So Gary, why don't you plug your chat that's coming up?
Okay, that's Foul Territory Friday night, every Friday night. That is at 9 p.m. Central Time. That's 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Mountain, and 7 p.m. Pacific, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this will be episode 223. It will be George's birthday, plus I'm sure somebody will talk about 223 or something else will come up. And we'll have a swag giveaway and we'll show some Gorn and stuff like that. So hope everybody can make it. And thanks for the invite, buddy.
Oh, no problem. I'm just trying to get a link for your channel out there. There we go.
Thank you.
I wasn't prepared with like normal getting everybody's links, but I looked at how many people are out there, and I think we're just boring the crap out of people. So we'll let everybody go to bed. G23. Is there anything you want to plug?
I released a video earlier this evening, and possibly I'll be doing a live stream Saturday, depending on how life is.
And let me do this one. Gearwebsites.com for all your two-way related t-shirts, patches, stickers, posters. Do you have calendars? Did you do a calendar this year?
I put together the calendar. I only made like a number of them, so not that many get purchased.
Oh, 3D design, 3D printing, web design, web consulting, you name it. He can probably help you out with it. Gearwebsites.com. Thanks for putting the link out there, Gary.
Yep, thank you.
Is there anything you want to plug there, G-Webs?
Thanks for hosting. I'll plug the Suicide Prevention Saturday gig that happens on Saturday with Brooke Cheney from Connecticut. She offers a consistent show every Saturday to offer tools for your conversations about guns with the focus on suicide prevention and mental health awareness so that we can help bring that into our conversations better. It's in the evenings on Saturday.
So, there's links. Oh, wow. Hang on here. I forgot one. Wait just a minute here. Let me get the link for Guns and Barbecue. So, Guns and Barbecue, who was on the chat for a brief moment, he does a chat. He's just doing Tuesday night, I believe, at Does anybody know what time he does his chat at?
He has essentially an ankle bracelet for the internet. He's only allowed to do it on Tuesdays now.
10 p.m. Central.
So 10 p.m. Central, Guns Barbecue does his chat. There's a link for him. So check him out. And appreciate everybody that was out there in the live chat, chatting her up. And those who might have been watching but didn't say anything, I appreciate you too. And again, if you watch this in replay, leave a comment. Anything we talked about, like I said, I always appreciate when I get comments, and I always read them. So, hoping that. Hope everybody has a good rest of the night, and say goodnight, Gracie.